never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the mold.
Welcome to another episode of the NRL Allstars Podcast. Barnesy here, your host of the Allstars Podcast, here ahead of round 15, the second big buy round in SuperCoach. Mikey is back on board to talk all about it. Mikey, welcome back, mate.
Thank you. It's becoming a special for us, I guess, nearly every time the buy rolls around. But then again, I'm on all the time now. But yeah, the buy rounds are good. This one I'm not as excited for, and I don't think many people will be because it's just a hard one to fill. This is the toughest one, and for a lot of us today, yesterday I was hoping for a little bit of luck, and I received none of it, which I expected. So makes it even harder. So now it's a very hard week because the topic of the show is more so going to be who to bring in, and we're low on trades, and it's more so that you don't want to be wasting your trades, and you want to bring in guys that you can keep. But I think that's the hardest part of this round. Like, there's not too many people that I'm willing to grab and spend all my money on to keep. So it's a dilemma this week, that's for sure.
This week's bloody awful. I'm just been absolutely hammered. We will get into that in a minute. I need to let the audience know what's happening and what shows they can look forward to. So this week, me and Mikey are going to hit the big buy round hard. We're going to talk TLT. We're going to talk the buy round. And next week, I'm going to be on the official show for my TLT round 16. So you can hear me with Tom Sangster on that one. Unlikely to be an episode next week, though. I might try and throw in a shorty one just to give my extra take on things because I don't always get it in on the Daily Telegraph one. Unlike our show, they just try and really stick to a real time constraint limit so you don't get to talk about everything. So I'll probably jump on myself and just voice a few other things about next week. But that's what's happening. If you want to keep up to date with the show or just support us, make sure that you do jump on YouTube, Spotify and iTunes and hit like and subscribe all there. It really helps the show out. But what we're going to do today, first off, we're going to just talk about our general impressions of the round, so which is basically going to be our strategy chat, really. And then we're going to go through TLT rather than positions because I feel like that this is a round where it's not very good. And I said it's bloody awful for me. Like, I've got 3 players that should have played this week that aren't named. And I've made the decision that I'm going to just roll with like 10 because I'm not seeing the quality. And this is where we run into the strategy talk, really, because we are now over the halfway point of the season, Mikey, and most people are quite short on trades, and even the ones that aren't, it's relatively good to what most people have, but it's still quite low. So I don't think there's many people at all that are flush with 24 trades or anything ridiculous like that at the moment. So what that means is, and this goes to my strategy of, rolling with the 10, I don't see it as a great round. I don't think there's a lot of keepers in it. And when I'm doing my trades this week, I want to be getting guys in that I can keep because I can't afford to trade guys in and then have to trade again to get them out because that's the cost of 2 trades and it's just really difficult. I might do that with one guy, but I'm definitely not going to do it, with 3 of my trades. And I think a lot of teams need to sort of look at that because the other thing I'm doing is I'm keeping guys that are guns. Like I've held Hines, I'm holding Cleary, I'm holding Tedesco. And it's not to say that's the only way to do things, but it is the only way to do things for me because I can't get those guys back. I just know that I won't be able to. So, Harry Grant's another one, Munster, like all these guys. In other years, I would have traded some of these guys over Origin, Mikey, but I just can't afford to. And I'm just not seeing the value in hitting this round even harder for some teams when I think round 18 might be a little bit better. We've got injuries as well. So I think that the player pool's less because more guys have been pulled into the Origin camp to replace guys that couldn't play, things like that. So bloody tough round.
It is very tough. I'm in a similar boat to you, except, obviously I was in the sell Tedesco camp kind of, and that's worked a treat, but I feel like it worked a treat selling him at like max price.
Yeah.
And for once, I'm on the podcast off the back of a big round, 1580 on the weekend. So like that's what kind of has me a bit conflicted because I've just jumped 7,000 spots. I want to keep the steam rolling, But at the same time, if I do burn for all the trades just to keep the steam rolling, I'm going to come undone in the end. So the difference is next week, I really want to take a Panther. And next week, the next bell around, I'm good for numbers, but I want to attack it hard because there's a lot of guys that will come on the market that I want to keep. And so to do that, I need to kind of I don't really have any cash. I used all my cash to set myself up last week and get Terrell May and Kai Pearce-Paul, which, are two premium options for this round, which we'll get to. Looking at my numbers, I've got 11. But one of them includes Patrick Herbert. So I'm on the fence. Do I not make any trades? But the fact I want to be able to turn Setu 2 into Jenkins next week tells me I should try and make one for money, but it's hard. I've got a fullback position here. I don't want to keep Drinky. The Cowboys' draw is the worst it could possibly be. You chuck in 2 buys and they verse basically the whole top 4 and then the team in 5th. It is disgusting. Not saying you can't perform, but it means if I want to make a move this round and get a high ceiling player, there are some guys that I'm looking at, but none of them are ones I want to keep. But I'm aware that in the fullback position, I'm going to want to get Tedesco back. So maybe I'm willing to kind of make a trade there because the only person I've sold that I want to get back is Tedesco. So yeah, it's a tough round to navigate. We'll navigate the options, but maybe I think I could come around to maybe just making the one trade in the flex and getting myself to 12. But I think it's also important. Like I'm in a lot of cashies, so I want to be able to get a win in the buy rounds. I did it last one. I can't afford. I'm in places where I'm chasing top 8s. I can't afford to drop games. So it could also be that if I'm behind in a few of them, one more trade will help me win all those 12. I'd consider it, which might seem silly, but I really need to capitalize in these rounds because I feel like it's easier to get a win in the buy round than not.
Yeah, it is. And I might be saying I don't think the buy round's important or you shouldn't hit them hard. I've always been of the opinion you hit the buy rounds hard, and there is a massive opportunity this round for teams to move up significantly, but I just can't. It's not that I don't want to, it's that I can't. I don't have the players, I've got injuries, I don't have the trades, and there's just no way for me to hit this round that hard. I'm going to have quality across my 10. And I'm going to make sure that I hit round 18 hard. But certainly, if you can hit it hard, you hit it hard. And I think it's a really big opportunity for teams, so I don't want to be misconstrued in that. And you mentioned Teddy working out well. Like, if you sold him at peak, it worked out great for you. I'm still going to say it worked out great for me to hold, only because, again, people need to look at individual circumstances for their team and what they can do. I couldn't have got him back. And it's that case with so many of my keepers. So every team's going to be very different. But we're going to have a look at the teams now and go through some of the best options and key matchups. We've got the South Sydney Rabbitohs versus the Broncos in the first game of the big bye round. And this one is super interesting. My initial take on this game, Mikey, and before we talk players, just quick take on the game. I feel like Souths could put up a score. I think the Broncos look pretty bad. They already look bad anyway, but they've also lost Reece Walsh now somewhat unexpectedly to Origin. Payne Haas now goes back out to Origin. Carrigan's already out. That pack looks atrocious. I don't think the backline looks great either. So when I'm looking at this, I kind of said to myself, you know what? Xavier Willison's the only guy of interest to me on this Broncos side. And even then, he's going to be a trade back out potentially because Carrigan and Haas both come back. It could be problematic for him. So I've looked at this and gone, I love South Sydney.
Yeah, 100%. It sucks that a guy like Alex Johnston, he's got a break even at 178. It sucks that he didn't have that last week and he could come in at about 680 this week because I know Latrell's not out, but he'll be back soon. So he'd be a good one to get 2 rounds of coverage out of. But I agree with you. That Broncos pack looks weak. There's a few options. I think Willison is definitely a massive option. But the issue with him is you bring him in at some point, he's probably going to be a sellout because he's at a peak price. If his role goes back to the way it was, you're going to have to sell him. You're going to sell him with value, but he's not as cheap as he was. Like, I could definitely make a Toika Manu to Willison and get myself 2 rounds of coverage this round. He's going to be good to at least after the buys. So that is definitely a trade option for myself there. But I'm kind of just on the fact that, a Toika Manu looks like, I'm happy to hold him for the rest of the year. So I'm selling a guy to get 2 rounds of coverage that's going to lose his role. If he was to keep his role, then I think it'd be a no-brainer and I'd take it. And he'll be a great one to own this week. And one of the, someone that doesn't own him and Ford, they're two that kind of I've got to chase with a few pods to counteract guys like that.
Yeah, I think that the thing that works against Willison is that there's other options just in this game even. And to me, if you're trading in forwards, I want to trade in forwards that have got a chance at getting some points, some attack. And if you think the Broncos are going to get creamed, it really limits his chances of doing that. And just in this game, I think that there's three better forwards to look at. And two of them are really quite a lot cheaper. So David Fafita, I brought in last week in anticipation of this. I actually think he's one of the best forwards to trade in, and I have him well over Willison at the moment. Why? Well, because he's almost 120k cheaper, which is a lot of cash. He's good value at 535,000. I actually thought he looked really good last week. He scored 65 points, but people will say, oh yeah, he did that with the try. His base was horrendous at 34. It's his first game back. There was two things that I was really looking at. Does he play 80 minutes? So it was a risk for me to get him last week, but he did play the 80 minutes. He did look fit. And the other thing was how they used him. And I felt like that they went to him really well. There was a lot of times they went to him near the line. He was a Brooks bootlaces tackle 5 metres out away from a line break try for a ton. So I just love the eye test, and I love him as a keeper. And the other thing with getting someone like him in, aside from someone like Willison, is David Fafita, aside from being a keeper and having the pedigree, Souths only have one more bye, and that's in round 16. And they play teams like the Eels twice. They've still got the Gold Coast Titans to come. They've got a decent enough draw to finish the year as well. So I'm pretty comfortable just having him there. So he was one. I'm just going to throw up another guy that's a similar price quickly. Colin Matangi has more risk. He's a front row forward option if you've got Willison at front row as potential trade. But he is this like 130k cheaper than Willison. And he's coming off a 75 where I thought that he actually looked a bit better on his knee. His base was a raw base of 48, which was solid. His minutes were still 57. But the key with Colin Matangi that I kind of like for his upside, Mikey, is his PPM is 0.9, which is exactly the same as it was last year. He's just getting 10 minutes a game less, and it's because they've been managing that knee. The start of the year, he was getting sort of 70-odd minutes. I can see him going back towards that again. And I thought that he looked like he was pretty active in the line as well, which is how he got that try as well and went through that hole. So I think both those guys are value. And even if they don't work out as top 13 type of keepers, you're going to need some extra guys in there, right? So even if a third front row forward for Colin Matangi, where you don't start him every week, I reckon that's fine. So for cover, for both bye rounds, I like these guys as cheaper options than Willison.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got me thinking. See, I really like David Fafita. I love him. But the issue is I need to get Leckett up to him. And like I said, I want to keep money to be able to grab a Paul Alamotti or a Tom Jenkins next week. That is my priority, because next week you also need to start thinking of these things, because then next week I don't want to make 2 trades to get that guy. I want to make 1. So I've got it. That's why if I'm making trades this week, I want to be smart and ensure I can make money to then do that. So like a Natoi Kamanu to Colin Matangi kind of makes sense to me. I don't want to play 3 front rollers every week. And if I did that, that's 70k. That would probably, with my other trade, that would get me towards that. So it's
what
not
about
the
for
worst.
other teams that aren't as good as you, though? Because you're an absolute super coach gun, mate. But there's other teams that are looking at trading out, that have the guys to trade out pretty easily to either of these guys. And they need to decide which forwards to get. Do you agree that these two are probably more chance at higher scores, and certainly definitely more keeper-ish than what Willison will be?
Fafita, in the second round, to be honest, I would take probably either of these guys over him based off role. If we knew Willison was going to keep this role, and let's say Carrigan got re-injured and he was out for the rest of the year, then I would probably prefer Willison. But at the same time, it's have to be said too, both these teams are on the bye next week. But after that, the Bunnies will cover the final mini bye round, the Broncos won't. I guess the easy thing is, this round is pretty easy to cover. The next mini bye round's pretty good. 19 is tough if you target a lot of Panthers. Tougher, I should say. But it's team dependent. But I'd take either of those guys. And the fact that 530, a 70k difference, that's a lot when you're running out of trades. 70k can help you get to a guy you need. So the trades are getting more precious now, and you've got to be smart with them. And you've also got could I, a guy like Colin Matangi, could I hold him for the rest of the year? Yes. Could I hold a guy like Willison for the rest of the year? Probably not, if we assume he's getting his role. So yes, could he turn into someone you keep? Yeah, 100%. But if he gets back to that role, he's going to lose all that cash he made and would become an immediate sell. He'd probably lose 200k value if he goes back to those minutes off the bench.
And there is a third forward here in the South Sydney pack who has been moved to centre, who I've started to really like. And 2 reasons I really like this guy. One is because the backline for the Broncos this week reads as, from number 1 onwards, Hayes Perham, Josiah Karapani, Antonio Verhoeven, Grant Anderson, and Jesse Arthurs, along with Thomas Duffy at number 6. There is tackles to be missed in that backline. Tallis Duncan is starting at centre, but if we're talking about there being points, he's a guy that can get points this week and score some tries. We know he's got 150 plus type of ceiling. But the second point I was going to raise with him that has sold me on really wanting him is Tom Sangster on the official show this week yesterday confirmed that provided Tallis Duncan does play centre this week, he will receive the dual. And to be able to move him from his second row after this week to centre, then that is awesome. So, at 645,000, he's expensive, but he's almost the same price. He's actually $3,000 less than what Xavier Willison is, and he's averaging 70 for the year. So, other thing to keep in mind too is that despite the round 16 by Mikey, and I know we're all about round 15, but they do play the Eels in round 17, and that's a real target game as well for guys that can score tries. So, I think Duncan is a phenomenal grab as well.
Yeah, I grabbed Duncan pretty early for the fact that he covered 3 main buy rounds, and I see him as a premium, still kind of like a pot option. Obviously, centre news might not be good, but the matchup this week to be in centre is great. The only issue is they love going left over right. Jack Wyden's due back soon too, so I don't know how much longer he'll stay on that right edge. If they want to keep him in the centres, I reckon when Wyden comes back, maybe they push him over to left because he can play both.
Well, Latrell's due back at the same time as Wyden.
Yeah. It's just obviously I think he's a bit more touch and go, Latrell. It seems like with this injury, but and then he just goes back to the second row. So yeah, great option. Still got good coverage on a mini buy next week, and 645 is a good price for Duncan. Like he was in the 700Ks not too long ago, and he hasn't scored a try since the Anzac weekend where he scored a double. So, or maybe he scored one more since then. So yeah, he's a great option, and I know we'll get to it, but also a sneaky VC playing first.
Yeah, he is. And I tell you the other thing as well, like you look at this game and go, well, he's on the right-hand side, but you know what? David Fifita played the right-hand side last week as well. So, I mean, if they're going to they started shifting the ball to the right to hit David Fifita a little bit. So, I mean, if they've got Duncan and Fifita on that right-hand side, you could just go, I'm just going to double up here. I'm going to have Duncan and Fifita and, hope that they kind of help each other out and rip up that right-hand side. But you do raise a good point with the C and VC. I want to bring up a big balls pod first, and that's a guy that you already mentioned. That's Alex Johnston. Johnston, I've purchased at this time of the year for buy cover before to try and hit a run, but I've done it at like 330K, like seriously 330K. He's 769K at the moment. It's just worked out terribly. But it's also the most consistent season he's ever had. He's averaging 78 points a game. He had a 28-point game last week, but it was his lowest score of the year by far. His other lowest score was a 48-point game, and he's only missed 1 game this season. He's already got 3 tons, and that includes a big ton of 127. It's shaping up as a week where you could see AJ go over for a Hattie and go 100 plus, which could be really rare this buy round as far as the amount of 100 plus players that we get. He has 178 break even though. So, if you've got money to burn and trades to burn, Mikey, because, in a vacuum, you just say, is Alex Johnston going to score well this week? And my gut feel is, yeah, he will. So do you just bite the bullet? Can you do that? Can you just say, I'm going to cop 150K loss or something in the next couple of weeks and just go for it for the points this week if you've got all those trades in the bank?
Yeah, you could, but like even then, he scores 100. He still misses his break even by 70. Like, it's rough, but he's someone that you can keep for the run home. Once he gets Latrell back, he was absolutely on fire, especially if Latrell hit it. So it'd be a sneaky one, and it'd be great for the 2 last buy rounds. So then again, I flip it to the other side of the coin, and Dolphins, I love them this week. So, like, if you didn't have someone like a Bostock, I can't, that's 100K I can save. And that goes back to my point about making sure you've got money if you're low on trades, cash management is so important right now because that will minimize the amount of trades you use. It's like selling someone to then having to get them back. You got to use trades to get them back. Making sure when you consider if you're torn on 2 guys, which one's going to help you get the next guy you need. So that is what would still, like, it might be a boring strategy, but that's a way I always kind of look at it. If his break even was 100, then I would slightly change, like it'd be a little bit more enticing on that fact. But yeah, he's pretty expensive to take a role. Like at the same price, you could take a role in Osaka who's got the goal kicking. So that's just what I get back to. And the Dolphins are absolutely killing it. Like the Bunnies aren't playing bad, but they're not in form, you could say.
Yeah, I guess my counter to Bostock versus AJ is that AJ's 3% owned. Bostock's become very popular. So if you're talking about pods, and look, if you're going to have less numbers, like if you're going to have less than 13, I think it's important for you to strategically go for broke. Like if you're just going to get guys like Bostock and have him and Herbie Farnworth and all these guys that are all 25 to 50% owned, it's not going to do much for you because all these teams are going to have those plus an extra 1, 2, 3, 5 extra players depending on where you are. So to me, you try and get a ton from someone who isn't going to get owned, and then hope that 100 from someone like that, like an AJ, makes up for 2 guys scoring 50 that are really popular that you didn't buy. So I guess that's my only argument. But VC and C options, look, I think that AJ is a great big balls VC. I like Duncan as well for that matter. But I just don't think you can do it because of this next game. And the next game is, like you said, the Dolphins and the Roosters. And the Roosters are very under strength. Now, everyone will say I'm a Roosters fan when I say my take on the game here. And that's fine. I've got the jersey in the background. But I think we will lose. But you know what? I think that we'll still play pretty solid. Like I reckon we can grind with them a little bit and stuff. Couple of key things with this Roosters side. I do not think that they'll win, and I'll repeat myself there. I think the Dolphins will win. But I do like that, we have 3 of our 4 spine players out. But Ayuelu at 9, he can do a lot in a game than what Robson can. I don't think we lose heaps there at the moment for just one game. And Daly Cherry Evans and Savala is a really good halves pairing, and they actually work really well together. The key loss will be Cody Ramsey at fullback. I don't think it's going to be phenomenal, but when you consider the forward pack is still really strong, I think that they can compete, not win though. And the backline certainly though could give up some points. They've got Reece Foley, who has not played very much, and Tommy Talau. But more importantly, they have Egan Butcher, who I think is maybe on Herbie Farnworth, or no, I think he's on the other side. But either way, Herbie's going to go ballistic. And that was my segue because I said that I couldn't really VC a South Sydney player, even though I think they'll go well. It's because I think you have to have the VC on Herbie. Surely you can't not have a VC on Herbie Farnworth this round as a second game.
You can if you see him. If you really like that Bunnies one, you could. I think he's a pretty safe play. The thing that we'll get to why probably he's a better VC is because there's some pretty safe captain options later in the round if he fails. But I'd be very surprised for him not to get a floor of 80. But just to go back on your Roosters take, I'll agree with you in one sense. The forward pack is very strong because there's guys that have been in the Origin arena that aren't in the arena. You got guys like Crichton and Lena there. But that back line compared to the Dolphins back line, it's the Dolphins are smelling points. Like I could see this easily 20-point margin. I'd be very surprised if it's not a 20-point margin. No offense,
well, you know what though? I said Ayelu, he's on the bench. Connor Watson starting. Former Origin number 9, Connor Watson, mate.
Yeah, yeah, he's a bit of a has-been, but yeah. Oh, look, I just smell points. No matter what, that back line compared to that back line, like if you had heaps of trades, this is the game to target. Like if you were balling in trades, bro, a little Tavita nut, like a Tavita swipe, would be perfect because every time he comes in, this guy scores tries. But obviously, he's only there for the buy round, so you get this one and the next one out of him. But that's why I like realistically Ozako, Bostock, Farnworth, like all these guys could have monster ones. And I heavily considered going to Chester to someone like Bostock just purely for the fact that I think the few guys that I'm scared to not own this week that I think could really make a difference for teams, especially on numbers, is Ozako and Bostock. Like this team smells points. And they scare the shit out of me not having. Like, yeah, I've got Herbie, but so does freaking everyone else. Everyone else is going to be seeing. So, but yeah, this game smells points for the Dolphins, and they're starting to get their groove on. If for some reason Moses comes out tomorrow, he's injured, and he's not going to play Origin, then Katoa goes into camp. probably
but I
go
think
into
that
camp.
Stranger starts. Like I've seen that rumor.
He starts, but he could potentially go into 19-man squad, Barnes.
No, yeah, that's true.
They did that with Matt Burden in the last Origin game, and if that happens, then I'm not as scared on the Dolphins. I still think they'd win convincingly, but he makes a big difference to a lot of those backline plays, especially guys like Bostock and Hazako. So that wouldn't make me as keen on purchasing them if that was to happen by the weekend.
See, I agree with everything you said, but one thing, and that is
the 20-point margin.
Possibly. I could see us making it really ugly. Like I could see the Roosters getting down and dirty.
This looked crap whenever you didn't have any good wingers out there, and now you don't have them or Tedesco, so that's what just gives me no confidence.
But look, we just beat the Raiders 26-0. I know we've got some players out.
Raiders are near the bottom of the table.
I think the thing is, it's less about the Roosters, mate, and it's more that I really think that Souths will dominate Broncos. And the other target game is I really like the points available in Tigers versus Titans. So those are the two games for me that I want to target more than this one. But this one has a high pedigree and good guns. So Herbie's the obvious one. Bostock is 25% owned, but he's still really good. He's still a really decent price at $6.31.
It's affordable. It's a good price.
It's affordable. Asako isn't though. You know what? And like I like Asako. I'm scared of Asako, but at the same time, I'm not going to really push to try and get him because 25% ownership, almost 24.4, and 772,000, and he's just so expensive at the moment. Now he does have that ceiling, but at the same time, I've said this about Asako forever. He could bust out 150 this week, and I'm worried about it. But I also know very well that there is a really good chance he could bust out a 37. And he does this in games where it's a good matchup. It looks like points. And sometimes the Dolphins even score points. And he gets the majority of his points just from goal kicking, and he ends up on a 50. But it's like 30 points in goal kicking and he puts up 20 points otherwise. You know, it's one of those things where he can be really inconsistent. So, yeah, I like Asako. I certainly like, if you don't happen to own Herbie, you have to have him. So we won't even bother talking about it. But Bostock and Asako, it's a tough toss-up. I'm more scared of Asako's ceiling, but I'm more comfortable keeping Bostock for the rest of the year and being able to play him.
Yeah, I think a lot of the tries that Asako has been Bostock's been getting a try assist here and there. So I think I would prefer to go the 100 and what is it, 40K cheaper option, and you'd still get a piece of it. Yeah, if they put a score on, Asako's getting those points on goals, and that's what you're paying for at the more premium price.
Yeah, I agree. And look, Roosters-wise, there isn't actually a lot there that I would consider. I do think that Siwa Wong's gone under the radar a little bit. He's still only 2.8% ownership. I've talked about him on this podcast before. He's really solid because his work rate is so good. As far as his defensive efforts, he's routinely 40-plus tackles. He is 620,000, which is super affordable. He's managed to ton up this year already when he can go over for a try. I think he's been underrated. Now, you're talking about pods. If you already own guys, like say you've already got David Fafita, there's not a lot of second row options that I think you could keep and be comfortable with their floor on. With Siwa Wong, I think you can. He's got an 80-minute role now, and the Roosters don't play round 18, but that is their only bye that they have off. So it is quite convenient that they cover this bye round and also the 2 mini bye rounds as well and have a decent enough draw on the run home. So I think Wong's probably my pick of the Roosters as far as guys that you can keep, and I would be very scared about getting guys in just for this bye round when they're not going to play round 18, Mikey, because that can be a killer, especially if you're trying to get some cheaper guys that will end up out of the team, and look, half this side will end up on the bench or out of the team for the Roosters after this week.
Yeah, he's probably the pick of the bunch there. I think if Mark Nawangatawazi was in, he 100% was coming into my side this week. In my flex for Drinky, that trade I had is the only one I was happy to really do, and the fact he wasn't, yeah, I'm not really keen on any of the other Roosters, mainly because if they covered 2, I might take a spike on someone like Angus Crichton at 530k and just keep him as my 6-second rower. I could, but the fact they only cover 1, I'm not going to take risks like that.
Yeah, he was going to be the other guy that I mentioned for the Roosters, and I just think that he's a solid option. 6.8% ownership, 533,000. He's basically competing at the price point of a David Fafita, of a Keon Kolomotangi if you're trading a front row forward Jewel and so forth. So I do think he's an option. He has been disappointing this year, though. He's still been pretty solid. Other than that, I'm not seeing any other VC or C options in this, unless we're talking Herbie Farnworth. Could you look at a bypass of Herbie in this? Because I just don't think you can. But some people will argue, look, I want to go for 150 Asako VC and see if I can get there.
Hey, if I own both, there'd be a world that if I wanted the pot option, I'd go Asako. But like Herbie's floor is just so good. If this is a game where he scores a double or a hat trick, bang, he's going 150 plus. Like he could do what Margie did. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he goes into that top 10 of the highest scores. So yeah, I wish I could go against the pack. My only way I could go against the pack is take a stab on someone like Duncan. And let him, if he went 120 plus, I'd take that loop.
I like that a lot more.
And then that'd be the only way I'd pot against it, would be to have him as my C. But obviously my VC, in a buy round, I'd take a lot less in a VC. But if I still had Herbie in play, my limit would increase to 100. I'd start thinking about it, but I'd want more premium scores. So, yeah, because to be honest, an option like that might be better. Because if you're like want to go into a Jackson Ford or Terrell May, like realistically, you're picking them because you know you'll get 80 plus. So maybe it's better to stab on someone that you think could hit a 110 plus, and hope Herbie doesn't. But
yeah. Look, Herbie just needs that try, and I don't see him not scoring a try this week.
He just needs one.
He just needs a one. So I think he's guaranteed 110 plus. I really do. I don't think you can. Just to finish off on the Dolphins. Historically, Asako 54 average against the Roosters as well in quite a few games. So it's not one of his top 8 teams, that's for sure. Let's move along, because I do think there's a bit of value in some of these other games. The game after this one is the Warriors and the Sharkies. Now, this one's a bit hard because, mate, my general feel is the Sharkies have been doing well without Hines, but they haven't been playing teams that have played very well. And they've also just recently been at Shark Park as well, or Ocean Protect Stadium, I should say, their new name. It's over in New Zealand, this game. The Warriors are second on the ladder. They obviously are playing well. They are reasonably unaffected by Origin. They've got Capewell out, but that's it.
Barnett and also
Barnett.
Some injuries.
Yeah, a couple of injuries.
Like Fisher Harris, which is a big one.
Their backline is still intact. And I just sort of look at this and go, well, this is a bit of a danger one for the Sharkies for me. I'm really not sure what will happen in this one because of the travel to New Zealand and how well New Zealand have been playing. So that was my gut feel on it. I certainly think that there is some really good options, though. We're going to start with the Sharks because there's probably less options on the Sharks side. For the staple, for the gun that you should have and that you should have for the run home, Kale Iro is the obvious choice. Even last week when he didn't go well against the Dragons, he still put up a very serviceable score. He is still expensive though, but I would argue that you just pay the $700K, and this is a round where you could do it because he's one of the few centre wings that you can buy that you don't already own potentially, that you can keep for the rest of the way. And they also play round 18, the Sharkies, and that round 18 game is against the Broncos, who will be depleted again. So I like getting him in. He's already got 2 tons this year, 72 average. You're paying for that, but it's worthwhile to me.
140 break even. Like, yeah, he's a keeper. The way you look at it is, yeah, he's a keeper. But like I said, there's some Panthers that pop up that I'd prefer to him. So, like, I'm happy to wait. I also not interested because I grabbed myself for Sharks winger last week, which I'm sure we'll get to. And worked a treat for me last week. Wasn't good the week before, but I ended up getting Ronnie in. And I guess the argument is Iro is definitely got a higher base and safer, but man, the Sharks just the past 2 weeks, even though Mulatalo scored like 20 the week before, the ball just keeps going right. And when Hines comes back, it's going to keep doing that. It's only going to help someone like Ronnie. They're just going all down that side. Like Katoa's named in the reserves, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. But the fact he's going to the Cowboys next year, there's a good chance that he just stays out of the side and they keep Mulatalo on the right and Stone Street on the left. If they shift him back, then you've got the argument to say, oh, Mulatalo's now back inside KL Iro. Sweet. So,
yeah, there's no way Mulatalo will get dropped. It'll be Stone Street.
No, it's just obviously his side. Because to be honest, I'm really enjoying the right side for him, and all the balls going down that way. So, they're both options. The fact that they covered 2, but it's just 7.29. I don't want to spend that much on a centre wing this week. There's more that I prefer at the 600k value. Look, I know I'm an owner of Mulatalo, but I would still be hesitant to bring him in versus the Warriors. I like the fact that he played the Dragons and he was at Cronulla Stadium for 2 games in a row. But the Sharks, if they're going to want to finish in the top 4 and that, they're going to have a strong charge home. So I couldn't really knock back anyone for buying him, but I'm not as keen this week.
It's hard to say don't when he's going so well, but there is a lot of red flags that you have to consider because there is significant downside to owning
He's the ultimate rocks and diamond player.
Mulatalo, and I've experienced the highs and lows before, Mikey, many times for many years. He's like AJ to me. He's normally a buy period special. Grab him for 350 to 450k. Bang, hope for the best. He showed his worst, or just the game before last, with 26 points. It's that's what you can get out of him. He could throw that up this week. I understand that it's almost 100,000 more to Euro. I think Euro is worth that price point much more than Ronnie is worth $644,000, and that's my issue with it as well. I think you could play Euro every week. You can't with Mulatalo, and 129 versus the Dragons and 80 versus the Dogs. They're good scores. He's got a 3-round average of 78. It's hard to tell what he's going to get this week. It could be 17. It could be 80. He does have the upside. I think it's too risky, and I would go elsewhere myself. But I totally understand people going for it. He is an enigma, Mulatalo, in the SuperCoach world. He always has been. And if you own him, like you do, you don't have the headache of deciding. If you don't own him, it's a tough one, and I would just find the extra money to go in Euro or look elsewhere for other players to bring in, like a Tallis Duncan, who you can move to centre wing for the same cost. So Trindle, and I'm even going to say, for me, Sam Stone Street was an option before, because Sam Stone Street was only 340k. And I thought as a downgrade option, he's the type of guy that people might need. But with Katoa there, it's just too hard to go there. And likewise, Trindle this week could be one of his 18-point weeks. And at 600k almost, he's just gotten a bit out of reach, I think, to bother going there. On the Warriors side, if you don't own Jackson Ford, do you still pull the trigger now? 750,000. It's a lot of money, but he's obviously, one of the best players this year, not just forwards, but players to have.
Yeah, I don't own Jackson Ford, and I would love to have him, but more so my focus is now, obviously I could potentially go Kolomatunga this week, like I said before, and if I was going to make one more front row trade, normally I wouldn't, but the front rows are killing it this year. I just got to think to myself, do I want Jackson Ford or do I want to wait, and I'll just grab someone like Payne Haas, and although Haas doesn't give me that coverage, I think I'd rather run home with Payne Haas. And hope that I can get him a bit cheaper than that price. It's just once they've got all man back on deck for the Warriors, his minutes are just, we don't know if they're going to be consistent. When they showed to have those minutes, and awesome, and now Fisher Harris is out, so if he's out for a longer term, those minutes could probably stay near to where it is, and he's shown he can attack, so I can't hamper anyone for doing it. If money wasn't an issue, I'd definitely grab him as a premium option this week. But if you're someone that didn't have Terrell May, I definitely prefer Terrell May to Ford at this part of the season due to the double coverage that May gives you. And yeah, May, you need May. I don't think there's a world where you can go without him.
I wouldn't captain Ford this week. I'd rather captain a May or someone else. So Agreed. There's that as well. I think that he could keep going though as he's going. I think that if you don't own him, there's a chance that you could try and get one of these other players to try and just about match him for less money. And I think that's an option. Before we move on real quickly, we've got T. Murray Martin still being traded in at 370k. Does he keep the job? I think that's the main thing. Because aside from this round 15, the Warriors then hit the Dolphins. The Cowboys, then the Dolphins, which isn't a bad 2 weeks. One at home against the Cowboys is a really good one. Don't play round 18, but then they hit the Tigers and then the Dragons at home, which is a real target game. So if Martin is there for those games, he could put up big points.
Have a drink, babe. Yeah, so Tamari Martin, I think if you don't have him at this point, I think you'd grab him. I grabbed him at that bottom dollar price. And to be honest with you, with the way that Webster lines up and wants his, halfbacks to play, it suits SuperCoach. And he's probably someone that you could grab in. Originally, I was like, probably need to offload him. But right now, I sit with the 5'8" of Fletcher Sharp and Tamari Martin. If he keeps this role, I could run that for the rest of the year. The Warriors in second. They look really good. The price, and he's got a very low break even. Even this week, if you miss the boat, I think you just have to grab him. Don't overthink the room. Just grab him because he's at a cheap price, and a 5'8" position that looks so desolate early in the year now seems like there's a solution where I could go into rounds playing 2 5'8s now, because with the way he's playing and scoring, look, I know Penrith had players out, but he scored very well against them. Like he's a good player and he's a good option. Look, last time he had this 80-minute role, he went up to like 600 plus. So, and just keeps getting a job done. So, no brainer. I'd grab him this week. Good way to free up money or to fix a dead position if you have like Pezzett.
Two other guys on the Warriors side quickly. Talapiki is very low owned. He's a big balls pod for me. He can obviously lose his job at any time. He hasn't really been scoring massive, but that means he's only 540k, which I think is quite affordable for this Warriors run as a pod in your centre wing. Jacob Laban is 311,000, but I'm not sure about the job security there. So they're the only two, though. It's a bit of a weird one where the Warriors are going so well, but they don't actually have that many SuperCoach options to consider.
Yeah, I agree with you in that sense. Tuapiki, I had him early in the year, and Charles Nickel College said Webster loves him. He's lurking in that extended squad. Like you grab him, and then all of a sudden Tuapiki gets dropped to the bench, and yeah, it's just a nightmare. Like it should be his position. I'd be more tempted if he'd 100 if we didn't have to worry about chance. But at any moment could they make that switch? So not for me. But if he was to keep the role, could be a great play at the price.
Tigers and Titans. This is a big one for me. I think this one's got some good options.
Oh, you missed the Raiders Eels, didn't you?
Oh, but I just want to talk about this one. All right, we'll do
Raiders a quick
Eels.
one because there's one player I want to discuss with you.
All right. Did you see Jack Williams? Have you thought about Jack Williams? Is that
that's not the player? He's from Canberra, but 100%. He's definitely the player I looked at with double coverage. He's good, but there's just so many other second roles I want to run home with. It's why I can't do it, but definitely good. But the player I want to talk about, I'm pretty sure it's a guy you have, and it's who I'm thinking of trading Drinky to. It's KO Weeks. And the reason I'm trading the KO Weeks, I think he's an underrated option that no one's talking about, and it's probably why you didn't want to talk about him. But not only that, the price is good, and I know he's like a Roxwell Diamond Time player, but the thing that people are sleeping on, and it's why I looked at him, I can free up 100k. Look, I understand that Weeks is someone I will need to sell back to Teddy, but that won't be a problem. But the thing that really captures me in is the Raiders draw. Why are we not talking about the Raiders draw more often? Like Para, Melbourne and Amy Park's tough, but then it's St. George, Bulldogs, Bunnies, Tigers. Like that run there isn't bad. Like Melbourne are starting to get on a bit of a groove, but if Canberra want to make the finals, and that's a bit of a groove, and I think this Parramatta matchup is a great one for Weeks. And then St. George in 2 weeks back at Canberra, and they've still got a lot of games to play at GIO. Like the Bunnies and Tigers is GIO. So, just for the price, I can free up 100k, helps me get my Jenkins next week. I'm highly considering it, but I am aware that is going to cost me another trade to get rid of him.
Yeah, he's only got a 5-round average of 63, but he's looked like that he could go bang at any point.
He's got a big score in him. We've seen it before. He does it once per year.
I love having him this week. Like, one of the reasons I wanted him is because of this Eels game. I think one of the things that's wrong with the draw is that they don't play round 18 as well. They just play round 15.
But yeah, if you're getting a lot of double players and your numbers are sweet, then you can afford to get maybe one guy that just covers one.
If you're looking at potential hundreds, he's a guy that can get 100 plus this week against this Eels side. And I forgot all about this game. I really like Canberra in this game a lot. Like the Eels
is another
are giving
target game. This
it is. The Eels are giving up the second most points in the league at the moment on points against. It's a massive game. So Weeks is one of those pods at 8.4% ownership. That is a hand grenade captaincy, because even his bad scores like last week, he's still got a 52. He's not getting really bad ones. It is a shot in the dark, but he has 150 plus potential. So he's done it before. So I like the call. I actually looked at a cheap option. Matthew Timoko only 517,000 and 0.6% owned. He's a guy who I think you could leave as your 6th or 7th centre wing and that could rip up Parramatta as well. So when you're looking at downgrade options, which some teams will need to do somewhere, there is potential you could downgrade somebody to him, free up 100K or something, and he could be a plug and play for this week. I guess the downside is that you're not going to play him very often otherwise, and he doesn't go big very often. And the other thing is that he doesn't play round 18. So I certainly prefer weeks, but I did get the attention when I looked at Matthew Timoko's price and the fact that people will need a centre wing maybe this week, and the Eels are pretty weak there.
The fact that Strange and Young are out, I guess it's to be said that, maybe the Eels could pull a sneaky one, but that also, I still like the fact because that means Week's going to have to touch the ball more and he's going to be more so their go-to man because Strange isn't there. So I don't hate it for this week. It's more so the price too because like I said, I've kind of, even this year when I've gone some pods, I've still had the 3 fullbacks. So, I'm willing to take a guy like him just because I don't love the options. I'm willing to take one maybe option that I shouldn't do, and that's why I'm leaning towards him. Like I could easily go to Jaden Campbell, which is on the other side, which we'll get to in the next game, and he's someone you could definitely keep. But I'm also like, if I'm going to make a trade there, I want to make sure I can get my money to do one trade next week, and then I need to start sitting on my trades, which could sometimes steer me in the wrong direction, but that is my strat and plan to be able to manage my trades and still get the guys I want.
Well, Weeks has that VC or C option as well as extra value if you really wanted to hit this game hard.
It's probably the big balls pod of one of the big balls C pods, I think, for sure. You need to have balls to do it because it scares me.
The 2 guys to finish on this game are forwards, Tuppeny and Horsburgh. Their 5-round averages are 77.2 and 73.6. I own both of them, and I've absolutely loved it. I've owned both for about 5 weeks, and they've been great. They've kept me above water. I could not talk anyone against either of those. I think Horsburgh at 621,000. He's got the jewel, which is really handy. The problem with Tuppeny is he's now at 662,000. He's just that little bit expensive. But Tuppeny's still only 16.2% owned. Horsburgh is only 6% owned. And in the last buy round, he got a try. And he's one of those specials where in a buy round, he just seems to get a couple of extra minutes and step up. So I really like these 2. And I've got to say, something that everybody that's a long-term listener will know about me, I always bring up with the Eels, forever and a day, Mikey, they give up points in the middle. People rip them up in the middle. It doesn't matter who is playing there. The last 10 years it happens.
Yeah, 100%. It's happened all year too.
Tigers and Titans, mate. Here we are, Jaden Campbell type. He is one of the primo elite guys that can put up those big scores. Coming off a 90-odd and playing against the West Tigers, he gave up 68 points last week. Looks like a no-brainer if you've got a spot in your flex or your halfback spot. But is he a no-brainer? 644,000 is value, 5.3% ownership is low. But is this that easier a game for the Gold Coast Titans? I'm actually not sure that it is.
Yeah. Well, look, I could see the Titans winning this one, 100%. Like this could be a close one. I know the Warriors are coming. The Tigers are coming off an absolute drubbing, but they do have some manpower back, and surely this one should be a high scoring affair. And I guess I really want Campbell, and the fact that he probably will get the duel. Depending who your second 5'8" is, he could become, you just slot him into there. So you just have to run the 3 halfbacks till you get to that point. And I guess worst case, let's say something happened to Hines and he's out even longer and you're holding Cleary. There's your halfback solution for that, trade in a fullback. But look, I really like him this week and I love him as a premium option. But me wanting to kind of go weeks is like the same thing you've heard all podcasts. I just think I want to take the 100K less, but it's also the draw for the Titans isn't like, I like the matchup this week. It's good. He's also another.
Can I tell you with their draw, if you had to keep Jaden Campbell, 5 of their last 6 games are at home for the Gold Coast Titans.
I guess that's ridiculous. A pro. But yeah, the draw after this is, I'm not in love with it. I'd rather, which also kind of keeps me off, but he has looked good, and I can't steer anyone away from buying him. Very close to doing it. If it's someone I want to buy this week that I can keep, I definitely think Campbell's the play in that position, but I'm just leaning the other way right now.
71-point average is his 3rd best average against anyone. He actually hasn't turned up against that many teams, only 6 teams, and the Titans the Tigers is one of those teams that he has turned up against. Really like Campbell this week. It's such a shame that he's halfback only, but he will get that 5'8" duel, I think, pretty soon. And when he does, you could always move him back out. Multiple trades there, though, if you're trading somebody out from your halfback spot or your flex. So that's the issue for teams, but that's why he'll remain not highly owned for this week. I don't think there's any other real good ones for the Titans that I'm going to throw out there. Certainly Campbell is a captaincy option, I think. But he obviously got the low ones in him. On the other side, the Tigers, May, must have. You absolutely have to get him in. Everybody knew that you should have been planning for it, and he's going to be a great captaincy option for this week. He has gone 77, 100, 82, 79, 79, 113, 108, 90 before he hit 60, which was his season low in round 4. He is going 70 plus every single week easily. Surely everyone's first trade should be to get Terrell May in.
Yeah, I agreed. He's a must-have. You need him for this round. He covers 2 rounds. I'm not, like I said last podcast, I'm not really worried about Origin selection. Like, he's not going to pick Jackson Ford. He's not going to pick Terrell May. So yeah, just load up on him, and he's probably the safest captaincy choice apart from Herbie this week.
Kai Pearce-Paul people have been jumping on, and I think that people that haven't have cooled, even if they've planned on him. And I like it because at 18% ownership, he's not that high. He's still averaging 76 for the year, and at Gold Coast Titans edge, it just screams attack for me. So I reckon he's one of those other forwards that could turn up this week. So I absolutely love him for this round.
Yeah, he's another one that, he's someone you can grab that you can keep. And that's why I think, those 2 we just mentioned are the best to bring in this week if you didn't have him, because you happily keep him. He's definitely in you start him each week. They got pummeled on the weekend and dished out 57. Once Dewey comes back in that back end, that's what really unlocked him in scoring tries. So there is a bonus to him later on in the season. And look, even though the Tigers got smashed, they are still well in the hunt for the top 8 this year. So they're going to have to get better. And I believe once they get the cavalry back, they will go. Maybe will they go back to how they started potentially? But yeah, I don't think you need to overthink the room. I think if you need a second rower, $650K, good price. Grab him in.
He's a keeper. Yep. I'm going to finish on an absolute disgusting option that I've looked at. It's a terrible SuperCoach option. I'll say it outright. But sometimes you need to just throw these hand grenades and hope that they hit. And I think this one might. I'm looking at the Tigers draw. They got the Titans at home this week. They got the Dolphins at home the following week. They got the Knights away and then the Dragons away in round 18. And round 18 is important because it is a target game against the Dragons. Both these big bye rounds, Tigers could go bang. Taruva, ex-Panther, $406K. Now, it's not because he's a good option, Mikey. It's not because he's a great SuperCoach player. It's because he's put 155 points on the Knights already this season, and he got up to $700,000. He's $300,000 below that now after dropping all that cash. He could get there again over the next month. So I'm talking about, downgrading. If you can downgrade to a 400K guy that has 150 sort of ceiling, he might get a 26. It's there, but the Titans are a good matchup for him. I'm going to do it because I've got to do a downgrade, and I feel like if there's one guy that I need to spend 2 trades on, or I can just bench, he does play the Dragons twice on the run home and the Eels once, as well as the Cowboys who give up points, and that's after these next few weeks of footy. So the Tigers draw is good. He's back on the wing. If you can stay on the wing, it's even better. But it's again a hand grenade, but I really like it, and I'm going for it because I got a downgrade.
Yeah, look, I don't like it as much, just because they keep doing the back line roulette, and you've still got Patrick Herbert there, who's been pretty good when he's had his opportunity. So, could they do a shuffle? And he seems to be the first one they shuffle back to centre. And if we knew he'd stay on the wing, then sweet. But he's going to keep switching around these combos so they get a couple wins. And then when they get a loss, yep, sweet, come back up, Skelton. Let's try you again. And it's just they're constantly going to do it. They seem like they got more options in the wings on the wings. So that's why Taruva's, apart from Makasini, who probably get shifted to centre first. He's the next one that gets shifted. But
I just don't think they'll drop Taruva, but yeah, they could shift him to centre.
No. I don't think they'll drop him either. And like I said, I need to take a stab because I need to downgrade to do what I need to do and make sense. If you want to do one, I think it could be one that could work out. And he's not the worst to kind of hold in your 6. I just can't look at another Tigers backline. I guess maybe one to finish up on if I could and I had the balls. I think Taylor May's also a sneaky one at a premium price, but just coming back from that injury makes it tough on him. But I did have a good look at it. I would have brought him
up, but he's just so prone to do that shoulder again. You know?
Yeah, and he costs you a lot. If he come back and I was confident in that shoulder, like there is a world where he could come back, be fine and kill it. And I think he's a premium option to run home with. But just that injury risk, like re-injury risk combined with the price and the plethora of other options at the price for premium centre wings is why I just shut down that thought. But
I'm really surprised that you weren't a fan of Taruva when you can get 20 every second week from him. So, it was
I've done enough of those trades this year, Barnesy, so I need to look away from it.
Yeah, I haven't done much of those. So look, he'll be my trade out and trade out again, spending 2 trades there just for the buy cover because he covers both rounds. But look, if you have to hold one of those guys and you get stuck with them, yes, it's a bad AE that can come in, but he does have some matchups that I would actually play him on on the run home in the head-to-head.
He's
finals.
someone you can play. Like he'd give you cover. And he's got the kind of story in the water, win you and get you into a final versus me. And I get done to a Taruva hat trick. Like that's definitely something on the wall.
Oh, it's something that Taruva would do to people too. Give you 4 weeks in a row of 20s and then throw up a 174. I'm doing it. I'm sold. That is the podcast, everyone. So, look, we tried to do a big buy-around podcast this week that just focused on the main players to get in for the matchups because there isn't as many options. And Mikey has to run to work as well, so we're under extreme time constraints. So thank you to Mikey for jumping on this week and helping us through the big buy-around.
Good luck, guys. Hopefully you can manage to pull a rabbit out of a hat this week. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck, everyone, and thanks for supporting the podcast. Make sure that you do jump on to iTunes, Spotify, or also YouTube and subscribe, and also our great partner and sponsor, the Allstars Podcast. Jump on to oneworldcourier.com.au today, sign up for a free account, put NRL Allstars there to get a great deal with them, and make sure that you support them because they support us and they are phenomenal if you have any freight or shipping needs. Good luck in the buy round. Can't wait to talk all about footy again next week.
You'll never know if you don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get